All right, Caribbean flights. Let's do it. This deep dive is all about those sunny escapes. We're uncovering the trends, the new routes, the stuff that'll make you want to grab your passport. So, expert speaker, what's the first destination on our radar?
Well, let's just say the Caribbean is HOT right now. And I'm not just talking about the weather. We're seeing a huge surge in flight options, especially to Grand Cayman and St. Vincent.
Interesting. Those two islands have such different vibes. What's behind this sudden spike?
It's a combination of things. More people want to go there. New resorts are popping up left and right, and airlines are like, hey, let's get in on this.
Makes sense. So what airlines are flying to Grand Cayman these days?
Okay, get this. American Airlines just added a route from Dallas. Delta's flying in from Minneapolis now, too. Even JetBlue is expanding their service from Boston.
Wow. Talk about easy access, especially for those of us on the East Coast.
Right, and it's not just the U.S. either.
Oh, tell me more. Who else is getting in on the Caribbean action?
Our friends up north are getting some love, too. Sunwing, the Canadian airline, is really boosting its service to Cancun this winter. We're talking brand new routes.
Cancun, the classic. What routes are we talking about?
New routes from smaller airports like Kitchener-Waterloo and Victoria, and they're adding more flights from Quebec City and Kelowna.
Interesting. So it's not just the big hubs getting in on the action.
Exactly. It's like they figured out this whole niche market thing. And speaking of niche markets, it looks like Antigua and Barbuda are trying to attract more Europeans this winter.
Oh, how so?
Condor Airlines, they're bringing back their Frankfurt to Antigua route.
Okay. Sounds pretty standard. A lot of airlines are bringing back old routes.
Yeah, but here's the thing. A lot of people on that route aren't actually staying in Antigua.
Really? So they're using it as like
a stepping stone. It's actually really clever, especially for travelers coming from Italy. It just got a whole lot easier to get to those islands.
That's a great strategy. And speaking of exploring, we got to talk about island hopping. It's the best way to really experience the Caribbean, don't you think?
Absolutely. And it's about to get even easier. Airlines like Virgin Atlantic, they're really focusing on Barbados as a hub. They're adding more hop flights from Barbados to other islands.
Which islands?
Grenada and St. Vincent.
Love it. Okay, so we've talked about a lot of new connections, but there's one thing that kind of surprised me.
What's that?
I was looking at flight options, and it seems like there aren't a lot of direct flights from Kingston, Jamaica.
Oh, yeah. That is interesting. You'd think with Jamaica being such a popular spot, they'd have tons of direct flights.
Exactly.
According to flightsfrom.com, there aren't any direct flights listed from Kingston's main airport, Norman Manley International.
Wow. That is surprising, especially when you compare it to Montego Bay, which has tons of direct flights from all over.
It just goes to show, even in a place like the Caribbean, things are always changing. What might seem obvious, like Jamaica having tons of direct flights, isn't always the case.
So true. It's a good reminder that the world of airlines is constantly changing. So for those of us who hate layovers and just want to get straight to paradise, which destinations are looking super accessible right now?
Well, you actually gave me this really great list of direct flights to the Caribbean from everywhere. The US, Canada, even Scandinavia. And after looking at it, there are a few places that really stand out.
Okay, hit me with your top picks.
Well, Aruba is a winner right off the bat. Tons of direct flights from the US and Canada. Barbados is another good one. Great connections to both North America and Europe.
Solid choices. Both stunning islands.
Yeah.
What about places like Cuba or the Dominican Republic?
You're in luck. Cuba has direct flights from several U.S. cities, as well as from Canada and a few European countries. And the Dominican Republic, it has even more options. Direct flights from multiple continents, actually.
That's amazing. It really shows that the Caribbean is within reach for almost everyone.
It really is incredible, all the options out there these days. But you know what's even better than a Caribbean vacation? A Caribbean vacation that doesn't break the bank. And believe me, there are some seriously good deals out there.
Oh, that's music to my ears. Finding those affordable flights is like striking gold. So, what hidden gems have you uncovered in the world of airfare? Spill the beans.
All right. Remember those new JetBlue flights we were talking about? The ones from Boston to St. Thomas? You can snag a round trip right now for, get this, $319.
No way. $319. That's practically unheard of, especially during peak season. You're speaking my language.
Right. And it gets better. That Winair route, the one connecting St. Martin and St. Vincent, they've got introductory fares starting at $139 each way.
Okay, you've convinced me. I'm booking a trip. But hold on, these prices sound almost too good to be true. What's the catch? There's got to be a catch.
You know me too well. Always looking for the fine print. And you're right, there usually are a few restrictions. blackout dates, limited availability, that kind of thing. Being flexible is key when it comes to these bargain fares.
Yeah, makes sense. Got to be willing to play around with those travel dates a bit for those kinds of savings. Still, those prices are awfully tempting.
They are. But airfare is just one piece of the puzzle, right? We got to think about accommodations, activities, all that delicious Caribbean food.
Oh, now you're speaking my language. Food is an essential part of the whole experience. So, any destinations come to mind as being particularly easy on the wallet? Once you're there, I mean.
It really depends on your style, Some islands are all about those luxury resorts and fancy restaurants, while others are more laid back and affordable.
I'm all about finding that sweet spot. A little slice of paradise that won't break the bank.
What you got?
Well, the Dominican Republic is always a solid choice. Especially if you're on a budget, you can find some amazing all-inclusive deals there. True. All-inclusives are great for that stress-free vacation experience. But for those of us who like to venture off the beaten path a bit, are there any hidden gems that offer affordability without sacrificing that authentic Caribbean charm?
Absolutely. If you're up for exploring a little, you can definitely find some real treasures. Take Dominica, for example, the nature island. Lush rainforests, stunning waterfalls, incredible hiking.
Dominica sounds amazing. But I'll be honest, I'm more of a beach bum at heart. Any islands out there that offer that perfect combo of pristine beaches and, prices that won't make me cry?
Oh, for sure. We already mentioned the Dominican Republic, and it definitely delivers on those stunning beaches. Punta Cana, for example. Classic for a reason.
Can't go wrong with Punta Cana. But, I have a feeling you might have something else up your sleeve.
Yeah.
Something a bit unexpected.
You know me too well. All right, how about Grenada, the spice island? Fragrant nutmeg, cinnamon, all those amazing spices. But beyond that, it has some of the most beautiful, unspoiled beaches in the Caribbean.
Okay, you've officially sold me on Grenada. I can practically smell the spices and feel the sand between my toes. But before I get too carried away, let's circle back to flights for a sec. We've talked about a lot of specific destinations, but what about the bigger picture? Any noticeable trends in terms of airline routes within the Caribbean itself?
That's a great question. And, one thing that's becoming really clear is the rise of the smaller airlines. They're stepping in to fill the gaps left by the bigger carriers.
Smaller airlines, huh? Interesting. So they're creating more connections between the islands, like more options for island hopping.
Exactly. It's not just Winair either. There are others like Inter-Caribbean Airways. They're expanding their routes, making it even easier to hop around.
That's great news for travelers. Even if you can't get a direct flight on one of the bigger airlines, there are still ways to make it work.
For sure. You might have to do a little more digging, maybe a layover here and there, but that's part of the fun, right? Discovering those less traveled spots, seeing something new.
I totally agree. There's something special about finding those hidden gems, those places that haven't been, completely overrun by tourists. And speaking of hidden gems, we haven't even touched on private islands.
The dream. A private island escape. It's what so many people picture when they think of the Caribbean, right?
Yeah.
But, it doesn't have to be just a fantasy.
Wait, are you saying private islands are within reach for us regular folks?
Well, let me put it this way. You don't necessarily have to rent out a whole island, which can be ridiculously expensive. There are other options.
Like what?
Think smaller, more intimate, boutique hotels, little resorts. They're nestled on their own private islands, so you still get that secluded, tranquil vibe, but without the crazy price tag.
That's brilliant. You get the best of both worlds. The privacy of an island escape, but with the comforts of a nice hotel.
Yeah.
But there's probably a whole other adventure, right?
You're not wrong. You might have to take a flight, then a boat, maybe even a helicopter ride. But hey, that's part of the fun, isn't it?
Totally. It's about the journey. But okay, let's say I do win the lottery tomorrow. Any private island hotels or resorts you'd recommend?
Let's see. For that perfect blend of luxury and laid-back vibes, Petit St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Just 22 cottages and 2 villas, all with those incredible ocean views.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
What about something a little more off the beaten path, for those of us who like a side of adventure with our relaxation?
Oh, you've got to check out Wana Island in the British Virgin Islands. It's a nature lover's paradise. 7 beaches, hiking trails, plus they're really big on sustainability, which is always a plus.
Both of those sound incredible. But let's be real, private islands aren't for everyone, especially if you're on a budget.
Yeah.
So for those of us traveling on a more, shall we say, realistic budget, what are your top tips for finding affordable flights to the Caribbean?
All right, let's talk strategy. First things first, timing is everything. Shoulder seasons. Think spring and fall. That's when you're going to find the best deals.
Makes sense. Less demand, lower prices. But what about hurricane season? Isn't that a risk during those times?
It's definitely something to keep in mind. Hurricane season usually runs from June to November. But don't let it scare you off completely. A lot of islands are outside the hurricane belt, so they're good year-round. And airlines often offer even better deals during their shoulder seasons to, entice people to travel.
So it's kind of a gamble, but it could pay off big time. Any other insider tips you can share?
Be flexible. If you can swing it, try flying on weekdays or those red-eye flights. You're more likely to find a deal that way. And think outside the box when it comes to airports. Sometimes flying into a smaller airport on a nearby island and taking a short ferry ride is actually cheaper.
Those are great tips. So it's about being a bit adventurous and thinking outside the box. But no matter how much we plan, sometimes things just happen. Flights get delayed, luggage gets lost. What's your advice for handling those unexpected travel hiccups?
Don't leave home without travel insurance. It's a must-have. Make sure you're covered for trip disruptions, lost luggage, medical emergencies, just in case.
Absolutely. It's one of those things you hope you never have to use, but are so grateful for when you do. Well, we've covered so much ground in this Caribbean deep dive. It's been amazing. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners? What's the one thing you want them to take away from all of this?
The Caribbean is clearer than you think. Whether you're dreaming of a private island escape or an adventure on a budget, there's an island out there waiting for you. Do your research, be open to new experiences, and most importantly, have fun.
I love that. The Caribbean is calling. Well, listeners, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. But don't worry, we'll be back with more travel trends, hidden gems, and exciting destinations soon. Until then, keep exploring.